Good day, everyone. The topic we are discussing today is how to lift fingerprint from a crime scene. How to lift fingerprint from a crime scene. In wherever there's an incident, one of those things that we look for, that an investigator will look for in the crime scene is fingerprint. Fingerprint, they are because of the fact that fingerprint is so unique that there are no two people that has two fingerprints, so it is very good for identification. Unlike DNA, in DNA there are no two people that you have two the same DNA. But in a case of Siamese twins, when you have identical twins, you are going to have similar DNA. But even with Siamese twins, their fingerprint will be different. Even on a palm like this, or on a hand like this, no two fingers will have the same fingerprint. The patterns, the miniature and the minute details, everything will not be the same, even on two fingers of the same person. So we have about three principles that make fingerprint a vital identification tool, and I'm going to discuss the three of them before we go into the practical aspect. The first one is individual characteristics. No two fingers have the same patterns. No two fingers, even from the same person, no two fingers have the same pattern. And number two, remain unchanged. It remain unchanged. A fingerprint will not change during an individual's lifetime. In fact, right on from the day from the womb, when the thing is already formed and solidified, it remains like that. Even when you have scratches or you have a minor burn, that thing will get healed. The injury will get burned, the minor injury will get burned, and the fingerprint, the print will arrange itself, the ridges will rearrange themselves and go back to the initial stage or the initial pattern that you have there. So a fingerprint will not change during an individual's lifetime. Thirdly, or number three principle is that it is unique pattern. It has unique patterns. Fingerprint have general patterns which make it possible to identify or classify them as arch, loop, or wall. And apart from that one, there's another level of identification that we call minute details. We may have 3, 4, 5 people that belong to the same group of arch or loop or wall, but you will still have in the minute detail, but the time you examine the minute detail, you see that they are totally different. So individual characteristics remain unchanged, unique patterns. All these three principles make fingerprint a vital tool, a very powerful tool for identification. Whether you go to the north, you go to anywhere, it remains, so it can be used. Then we have categories of fingerprint. And I will try to make it snappy because of the practical we are still going to do. You have patent, you have plastic, and you have latent. The patent is the one you can see. If I touch the wall with a dirty hand, you can see my print there. You can see my print. This print, because it is visible, it is called patent fingerprint. Then we have plastic. The plastic fingerprint is a fingerprint. It is a print that is left after you might have touched soft surfaces or soft object like wet paint, like pap. For those that understand what I mean by pap is a kind of food that we eat in Nigeria. Then when you touch something like that one, it will leave, your finger will leave a print. Your ridge patterns will be left behind, and this kind of a fingerprint is known as plastic. Then we have a latent. The latent is the invisible one. The latent is invisible. So when you, as I told us the other time, on our fingers we have pores. On these pores, some liquid are coming out. This liquid is made up of some chemicals like water, made up of water, protein, ammonic acid, and so on and so forth, and some other minerals like salt, even sugar. So this thing, by the time you touch any surface, it will make the lines that we call friction ridges, it will make them to stay there. So it is not visible, but there's a way we can make it visible so that we can lift it from the crime scene. So I said we have three categories of print, that is fingerprint. The first one is patent, the second one is plastic, and the third one is latent. What are the things needed? What are the equipment needed to lift fingerprint from a crime scene? You will need magnifying lens, you need a brush, a fingerprint brush, you need fingerprint powder, that is, we have black and we have also white. But the surface on which you want to leave the fingerprint will determine which color to be used. If you are working on a white surface or bright surface, then you need to use black powder. But if you are using if you have it on bright surface, on dark surface or dark surface, then you need to use white fingerprint. So there are some other methods, but because of our time, we are going to demonstrate this one today. Now, when you want to lift fingerprint from a surface, how do we do it? Let's demonstrate that one now. Yes, I said you need a okay. Let's assume that from which we want to leave the finger. On this surface, on this tile, we have fingerprint, but it's not visible. It's not visible. Don't mind the blue color. This blue is not what we are looking for. We are looking for latent fingerprint, that is fingerprint that is present on this surface but it's not visible. So that is what we are looking for. So now, how do we do it? The first thing to do is to make sure that you protect yourself so that you not contaminate the surface with your own fingerprint and also with your DNA. So you are going to protect yourself using your nose mask. You put on your nose mask. Then you need your glove. The glove will ensure that you don't leave your own fingerprint there, and your nose mask will prevent your DNA from touching the surface, because it is possible that that you will still want to work on the surface, on the crime scene, or on that object from which you are processing the fingerprint. Probably we still want to work it, or somebody will still want to work on it to see whether there is DNA of the perpetrator there. So you need to protect yourself so that your DNA through your nostril or through your mouth will not touch the evidence. So you protect yourself by using your glove, a pair of glove. You wear a pair of glove, then you bring out your now this thing for the first, if you are using it for the first time, you have to make sure that you lose the edge or break the edge by rolling it like this between your two palm, so that you shake it like that, roll it like that until you see something like a dome. So now it's good like this, and you need a little quantity, just little of the fingerprint powder. Just a little bit from the, if you take too much, you will mess up the whole print. The print will not be good. So you spin it like this. You spin it until you have visible. Can you see this one? Can you see this? Can you see this one also? Look at this. So now let's lift this one. Now you need your tape, your lifting tape. You place the tape on the visible print. You make sure that it touches the other part. Then with a finger from one side, you begin to close the tape with the surface, covering the whole print, and you make sure there's no bubble. If there's bubble, the print will not be okay, will not be good to be used. Then with that, you lift it and cut it. After cutting it, you now place this one at the back of a backing card. A backing card is a card like this. Look at it. On that card, you have all information about this print. For example, you have the case number, you have the burglary, the case, the incident which is a burglary, the evidence, which is maybe, for example, this is tile, maybe kitchen tiles, or maybe the doorknob, wherever you take it. Then you have location. Location, is it in the kitchen or in the toilet? So then you also have some other information, the name of the investigator, then you fill it and sign it. So you place it at the back. Place it at the back. Look at it. Then you keep it inside the evidence bag. Seal it and send it to the lab where the analysis will be done. So that is that. Let me remove my glove. Now, that is the procedure. But there are some cases, because of the fact that the powder that we are using is so powerful that it can destroy some other evidence. So we may not need to use powder at all. There are some other things too that you can use, like alternative light source. Like this is it. We have alternative light source like this, depending of what you want to, where you want to use it. And some of them have different lights, like this one. Now look at it. So you may use this one alone to look for the surfaces, or you combine with another filter. A filter is something like transparent nylon or transparent plastic that will allow light to pass. Some rays will not be able to pass, but you may combine like yellow filter with this kind of ray, and it will just allow the print to come out. The print, because of the chemical inside the print, will glow somehow, and with that one you snap it with your camera at an angle that it will not reflect the lights, because if there is reflection it will spoil the print. Let me tell you this one also. After you might have seen your print, after you might have made the print visible, you need to snap it. You need to use camera to snap it before you lift it. And the one you snap, you send it to into the system. In a place where you have a database, then it will be kept inside the database for onward processing. But in a case where you don't have electronic database, you keep it. You can still print it out. Apart from the one that you are lifting, you keep it in a place. There is a question that may be coming up in your mind, that is fingerprint useful? Because this is a kind of question that I've heard people asking me so many times. Is fingerprint useful where there's no viable database in the country? The answer is yes, it is useful, because in every incident you always have some suspect. The suspect, there's nothing you can do to them if you take them to court. If there's no evidence, the court will not do anything, will not be able to take decision on them, even though they are the culprit. But if there's no evidence linking them to that place, then nothing will be done. So now, if they are suspects, what we do is that the suspect fingerprint will be taken. You hang their fingers. You take their finger. We'll talk about that one. I'll demonstrate that one in the next class. You hang their fingerprint. That is, take their fingerprint from them as no fingerprint, as sample fingerprint that we are going to use to compare with the one that is not known, that we don't know who deposited it or who left it there in the crime scene. So you take their own fingerprint, then you match the two together, you compare the two together. If there's a match, then that means that person was in the crime scene. If there's no match, then that means that suspect will be exonerated. So where even in countries like US, where you have the largest database, crime database in the world, yes, they still need a human examiner. They need a fingerprint examiner that will examine that whether the fingerprint matches or not. The database may do a kind of match, yes, but there are errors that may take place, but human being will correct. Then apart from that one, it is human being that is trained that will operate the system. So the system will not function on its own. It will function because a trained examiner, fingerprint examiner, is there to make it work. And there are a lot of people, even in places like US, that their fingerprint is not yet in the database. What the database will do is that it will make the job faster and easier, but not that it cannot be done without a viable database. Let me talk about cross contamination issue before we call it a day. There is possibility that you might have gone to process a crime scene, maybe one or two crime scene, and when you are going for another crime scene for fingerprint, the best thing is to decontaminate the fingerprint brush, because the fingerprint brush can pick up DNA from another crime scene, despite the fact that you wear everything you're supposed to wear, you protect yourself with a PPE equipment, but your fingerprint brush can pick up DNA from another crime scene. And when you get to a new crime scene, as you are processing fingerprint from an object of interest or object of relevance, maybe like a knife, maybe a plate, maybe a knife, you might have deposited or transfer a DNA that you took from another crime scene to that object of relevance, and that one will mislead the investigator. So what you need to do is to decontaminate the fingerprint brush if you are not going to use a new one, because all these things are costly, so you may not be able to use new one for new investigation, but you can decontaminate it. And what is that thing you can use for the decontamination of a fingerprint brush? It is bleach. Your normal bleach will do the work. Your normal bleach will destroy the DNA so that it won't confuse the investigator. Now, there are some other things you can do on the issue of contamination. When you get to any crime scene, make sure that you avoid all contact with biological samples when possible. That is, when you see biological sample and you know that you want to process fingerprint from it, if there's biological sample there, try to avoid it. That is number one. Number two, if there is a case of or incident of murder or suspected suicide, if there's in a suicide case where you have a note that is purported to be written by the deceased. Now that note that we call suicide note may need to be examined by a question document examiner. So if it's going to be examined by a question document examiner, then do not use fingerprint powder on it. It will spoil the characters of the handwriting, so it won't be that person will not be able to do his work well. That's number two. Another thing is that you have to develop more extensive sterilization method for fingerprint brushes. The one I talk about in your agency, make sure you try as much as possible to have a what they call it, have a method, a standardized method that you'll be using to decontaminate your brushes, your fingerprint brushes. Don't just go and wash it with soap. Use bleach. When you use bleach, it will destroy the DNA. Then another thing is that you pay attention to the type and condition of surface being brushed. Pay attention to the condition of, because you may, when you notice that surface is likely to have DNA, maybe something like a blood is there, then do not use fingerprint brush at all, so that the powder will not destroy the DNA that you want to collect there. Then there's another question. Okay, I think that I've dealt with that question. That is, what can we decontaminate fingerprint? What can we use to decontaminate fingerprint brush or brushes? I said bleach. Bleach, also known as sodium hypochlorite. Bleach or sodium hypochlorite. This is where we are going to stop today. In the next class, we are going to demonstrate how to ink fingers of a suspect, how to collect samples that we call exemplar from a suspect. Thank you. Please share this lecture. Share it with your professional colleagues. Share it with them and let them also benefit from it. And if you have any question, please just write it at the comment section. We will provide answer to it in the next class. Thank you and bye bye.